Oregon Community Access. Community is our middle name.
Happy says watch OCA Media.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
We would never hit 12 drunk. Never send it drunk. Do a stoppie drunk. We would never drift drunk. So you should never drive drunk. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
petitioner is us. So, any comments from anybody at this point? Public comments. If somebody's here to talk, yes, ma'am, come on up and let us know what you'd like to talk about.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
We've come a long way.
But I'm sorry,
August.
for record purpose, I have to ask you your name and your address, I'm sorry.
My name is Jennifer Milestone. I live at 170 Dale Drive.
Yeah, pull the microphone towards you. Yeah.
170 Dale Drive by the high school in the village.
Yep.
I've lived there for 24 years, and I've lived in other parts of Oregon before that. And I've had chickens for the last 11-ish, give or take a little bit. My daughter's currently doing the chickens, and we've been going all over the country showing. Sounds crazy to get up and go to a chicken show in Ohio.
It's all right.
But we have. I just want to say, we've come a long way with this ordinance from what was proposed in August. There's just a couple of things that I'd really like to see tweaked with it. Some things that aren't very clear.
Well, we'll get to it, see if we can get a clarification for you, but we're kind of down the road quite a ways. But go ahead, certainly want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
So,
I did have a meeting with Elise in
okay.
February.
All right.
And I told her some things, and I don't know if she just didn't understand. I know she did take a bunch of what I said into consideration. But there's a couple of things that it doesn't really show what you're intending it to show, I guess. The first thing I would like to question is Section A, the description of accessory poultry keeping is for chickens or quail. It came up about turkeys for meat. They're not listed in here anywhere. And I had asked Elise about it, and suddenly the any other species not listed as prohibited got thrown in there. And I watched the videos of your guys' meetings, and I didn't see anywhere that anybody talked about turkeys.
We didn't.
They're only, they get butchered around 12 weeks. So it's like just over the 8-week age limit. They don't make a lot of noise because, they're not mature when you're keeping them.
Yeah. Go ahead. Comment.
I'll just acknowledge that Elise did take that comment and discussed it at staff level and ultimately did not agree to put it in the ordinance. But I'll let the Plan Commission comment if there was further discussion.
We haven't talked about that as far as I know. And it never entered into, and I'm surprised that over all the time, we have spent a lot of time, and that's fine, we should. I'm glad we did. We have a good understanding. But that was never brought up. We've talked about ducks, we've talked about geese, we've talked about everything else, but not turkeys.
Well,
Go ahead.
there's a lot of birds we haven't talked about.
Okay,
I don't want to go down that list.
I got you, you're right, I'm sorry. I was proceeding too far with the list, I'm sorry, yes.
Typical poultry that people would.
Yeah,
And turkeys are right up there.
I know, but I don't think we're in a position at this time with this ordinance to discuss that at all. And we've had public hearings that was never brought up.
I did bring it up with Elise.
I understand that, but
as
that's
a-
okay.
I remember hearing
Blind
that
spot.
question brought up, I think, when you had the workshop area there
Okay.
way back in the wintertime. That it seemed to me like that turkeys were automatically covered under the Dane County zoning and the way they are described in the Dane County records, which say that turkeys are livestock and they come under they automatically come under the jurisdiction of the county. So that's as much as I can remember, and I'm not totally sure how correct that all is. But there was an explanation about that, but it's still a question why that it wouldn't be covered, and we could cover it it could be covered in this if we wanted to go back and change that part.
But you can't do it now, not tonight.
No.
No, this has to go back through public hearing, doesn't it then?
Well,
I don't know if it's a public hearing, but it has to,
at a minimum, we'd want to hear what Elise has to say about it.
Right.
Because it was, approached to her, and she
Correct.
decided against it with staff consideration.
well, I don't have, we can do this, we can go through the entire thing here, we just don't have to come up to a final
Right.
Motion.
Yeah.
So we can continue with the public hearing and do this, and if you really would like to, you have some other questions or comments, more than
I
just one.
do, just
So
a
we'll
couple
go
more.
to that,
Would
but
you
so,
like me to comment, to try to paraphrase Elise's position?
Please,
I'm just not
yes.
sure if she'll be here at the
Sure.
next
Great.
meeting or the meeting after that.
well, she won't be.
Yeah.
So, briefly touched on the turkeys topic and, just in keeping with the conversation that, and the feedback that the Plan Commission had provided previously to keep this, in line as much as possible with the sort of urban bird keeping, standards. Turkeys are not something that are included in other comparable communities. I've never seen it in another zoning allowance for accessory bird keeping, and that doesn't mean that's correct. But it really is not something that's standard in an urban environment. I don't know if turkey behavior is different, but that was part of the consideration, just not knowing exactly what that is to go outside of the box too far and include them in the ordinance. And then also continuing to think about the age limit, and knowing that as currently written, birds under 8 weeks do not count towards the limit. So just knowing that if we're exempting a lot of birds, whether it's meat birds or turkeys getting up to 12 weeks or at whatever age they mature, that really expands the number of birds that can be
Actually
allowed,
does.
more than the 10 cap that is otherwise in here.
Now, having said that, what Larry commented, if it falls under something else under Dane County, in other words, if it goes to livestock, is that a different category than?
Permitting or anything like that would
Yeah.
have to come from the county and or state, not from
Not the village?
the village. It was the roundabout's what I was understanding.
Okay, so, go ahead, Phil.
Sonia, do we prohibit livestock in the village?
Yes, you might have a rural holding district that does allow for some, but that's not applicable under this section at all. So livestock in this section would be prohibited, as it would be on any sort of single-family lot.
Okay, thank you.
On the other part that you guys were worried about with the gamecocks, the prohibited animals, it does say that livestock is prohibited unless you have an agricultural fair or show. So under that, we could have a cow in our backyard, but we're not going to. But,
Well, when you say that, clarify it again, when you said that,
it says,
what page are you on?
the one where it lists all of the, I don't have it, where it lists all of the animals that you cannot have. Like the cougar and the elephant and the alligator and all of that stuff. And it does say farm animals, but then it also says that, you can have them if they're under a veterinary care, 4-H agricultural FFA project,
Okay.
a circus, or,
Here we go. That are in the care
So-
and custody of control of a veterinarian or treatment, agriculture affairs, shows, or projects of 4-H clubs, a display of judgment, okay, judging. Okay. All right, I see what you're saying.
so according to that, we can have turkeys, but according to this, I don't know if they would fall under the other birds or if they fall under the Dane County. That, I think, needs to be cleared up.
Well,
So B sub 1 says the location still has to conform with the zoning code.
Yeah, so first of all, we can't change what's here right now.
I
I understand it. So
Understand.
as a result, and as a result, if in fact a resident insisting that we look at turkeys, then we start the process over, so to speak. We still have to find out what's said and do a little more research and maybe research what Larry said about Dane County. I've never seen anybody raising turkeys in a municipality. I just haven't. Okay, how many are you talking? I'm just curious. 1 or 2, 10, 20?
So my daughter wants to show them at the fair as well, and you can show a hen and a tom. at Stoughton Fair and a hen and a tom at Dane County Fair. So we're talking 10 or under because they don't live very easily. They die very,
And we all know what toms do
very
in
easily.
the mornings or in, breeding season. They
But
gobble.
we don't keep them that long.
Oh.
They're butchered and gone before then. And quite honestly, we have wild turkeys. I mean, I'm right over by the high school.
But that's wild turkeys. We can't control them.
Right, but they come in and,
Mm-hmm.
they're not a bother to anybody either. Turkeys would be more like a rooster and less like a swan or a goose or a duck. They're a lot quieter
Okay.
until they're in breeding, which,
Well,
I
we're not following all necessarily the how we're doing this, but we're gonna have public, and so let's have the plan commission get involved in this, as long as we're down this road this far, and discuss her requests and what you think about it. Is this something that we want to postpone the actual recommendation to the village board? Or even make a motion after this? Questions, guidance?
Well, I could see potentially postponing it. I guess I'd like to hear the rest of your list
Yeah.
okay, that,
first, and
Yeah,
then, and
yeah,
then we can
you're right.
discuss
I
it.
agree with you, so.
that's a good idea. Thank you. So that was that. Item C, no persons may keep more than 10 birds on a property. If you could, is that 10 birds per species? So 10 quail and 10 chickens?
I knew that was coming.
I mean, I want it to be clear, and I don't want,
I don't
if you're gonna
know.
do this, you gotta do
I
this
think
right.
the idea was 10 birds. 10 birds is 10 birds. I get that's, and I see a lot of head shaking up down, so I think that's a clarification. I don't think we're gonna deviate from that.
So 10 birds total?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because
I know, but that's what
what
we're,
about if somebody were to come with parrots or something in their house?
Not applicable.
that's not, no, that has nothing to do with our ordinances.
Because it's a
It's
parrot?
a pet.
Or because it's in the
It's
house?
a pet in your house.
Okay. And then just a side note, when I was talking with Elise, there was, you guys had all agreed on 12 birds, not 10, at the December meeting in like 5 different places, and she kept saying 10, 12, and then she changed it to 10, for this.
Our ordinance now says 10, correct?
That's what.
Yep, in the packet says 10.
this
That's,
says.
we've had, I've been here for a meeting, so. yeah,
I know.
It's 10. It's 10, so that's where we are.
Okay. As it stands, reading it, you can have 10 birds, birds under 8 weeks age do not count toward this limit.
Mhm.
I could have 250 meat birds in my backyard for 8 weeks.
That's right.
And that's not, I guess that was what I understood you guys did not want to happen.
We would probably have, no, I shouldn't say we, I would suspect that you'd probably get a visit from members of the police department or somebody else in the village, because you'd probably have, not ordinances, but you'd have a lot of
Nuisance.
complaints from nearby people.
No,
Ma'am,
I'm just saying, I want to do this correctly.
yeah, but we're not,
know.
250 is foolish, so let's not even go there.
It is foolish, but it is also legal.
Okay,
I
you want,
guess-
go ahead and do it and let's see what happens.
I mean, I don't want to.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not sure
Even,
where you're.
even somebody with 100 birds in the
Okay, I'm not sure
backyard.
where you're going with this. I'm not sure where you're going with this.
That doesn't, this is,
What point are you trying to make? What are you
you're trying to regulate the number of birds.
We are,
But you're not regulating it.
yes, we are.
Right now, they're not permitted at all, so we're trying to make this so that they're permitted in a legal way.
I understand that. But you're not really regulating the number of birds that you can have.
Okay,
If
so
somebody
again,
could
what
have
is your, what's your
250.
bottom line? What's your bottom line? Because, are you asking now because now you want turkeys, so you want 10 chickens and 5 turkeys or something? Is that, I'm just asking. Where are we going with this? Because we're spinning our wheels here a little bit.
Right, I just want it to be clear, so somebody else.
It's clear. It's 10 birds over 8 weeks. And if you want to have more birds than that, up till 8 weeks, I guess our ordinance is going to allow it, correct?
Yeah, again, the 8-week limit There were public comments that asked for that to be even longer. I think 10 weeks was in one of the previous comment drafts. And the intent was to allow, when you get chickens and some of them don't make it, very early on, so that if you start with 12 and 2 die, or you have to get rid of 2 because they turn out to be roosters, or you choose to get rid of 2, that during that early period while they're maturing, that you're allowed some flexibility. So that was the intent of this. I think if we wanted to be even clearer, we could take that out and say 10 birds, period. But this was an accommodation to try to address those public comments. And then the meat bird situation, I think those mature later, if I'm correct, so after 8 weeks. So that
No,
was
they
why.
mature by 8 weeks.
Okay, so some of the comments were maybe older than that, but the intent of keeping it at 8 instead of what was requested to be 10 or older was to try to limit some of that potential abuse. But this is what we're at because it was that compromise to try to address that intent.
I understand that, I'm just, somebody's gonna come along and have 100 birds in their backyard and it's gonna be legal, and that's what my point is with that.
And then we'll see if we have to reevaluate the ordinance. I mean, that's what'll happen. And that's the way we deal with it, you know.
Okay.
If it gets, I'm not gonna use the word I was gonna use. So, if it gets out of hand, then the village will have to reevaluate the ordinance. It's that simple, go through the whole process again.
Okay, as much as you're learning about chickens, I'm learning about making ordinances. So I appreciate that. I just
Okay.
wanted it to be clear, and that doesn't sound clear to me, but if y'all got it clear, then.
Well, we are understanding, you're going to go there. You understand your way, we'll just deal with this the way it is.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Another question was, on the draft ordinance on February 25th, 2025, there was an existing poultry keeping as legal non-conforming users, kind of like a grandfathering in. And I know that was a lot of the issue in August when the place was full and people were wanting to know about that. And this doesn't have it in it. For some reason, it disappeared.
I'll have to ask for guidance on that.
Perhaps somebody can find it.
I'm trying to remember where that ended up.
She'll find it.
Yeah, I can't say based on, what was discussed in February or March. I don't know if you recall that coming up. The minutes from the last meeting reflect the fact that this is effective January 1. So, the intent of that was to allow people to be aware of the regulations for new chicken keeping or poultry keeping.
Yeah, we extended it out quite a ways for that purpose.
Yeah.
To allow, if there's non-conforming or something, allow people to get back in line. And we're talking almost, not quite a year from now, but, 9 months, 8 months.
I was watching the video of last meeting, and it sounded like everybody wanted to put it in right away. Mr. Marr was like, well, because somebody was asking, I don't remember who it was, somebody was asking about
The
a
ordinance
season
now
for
states,
it.
the ordinance now states, January 1,
No,
2026.
that's just what I read in the minutes that are included in the packet here
Okay.
from the last meeting, was that was the discussion that you all had, according to
Yeah,
the
y'all
minutes.
talked about a starting date, but it's not listed in the ordinance anywhere.
Well, we'll get that cleared up at the village board meeting.
Yep.
What does that
Because here's what happens. We have, right now, we're having a public hearing, and then we finish the public hearing, we'll make a recommendation to the village board, or not, at this point. The village board then will review this, and at that time, then they will make any changes they want to make to it, and they'll maybe set a particular date if we haven't made it specifically clear. Is that right, Phil? That sound right?
Yes. Yeah, it won't be in effect till the village board
The
adopts
vi-
it
Yeah,
anyway.
the village board has adopted anyway, so what we say here tonight, although we'd love to have them listen to what we have to say, it's up to the village board to decide what's gonna happen. So that can be, you know, entertained, but I suspect, my understanding was, I remember you guys, I thought we extended it out to like January of next year, didn't we?
That's what I remember.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it was.
Yeah, you wanted it, a lot of you wanted it right away. and
Yes,
you-
I know,
Somebody had
but-
asked about season-wise, if there was like a season for chickens.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
Mr. Marr said that after the state fair and, you know, later in the year.
So I think
But I
that's
don't
why
think-
we stated, we left it, we kind of had the idea, I believe. I thought we said January 1st, but maybe it's not in there. And at least, and again, that's what we see in the minutes of the meeting. That's where I don't like using the word intent, but I like specifics. That's my understanding, January 1st. And that will be clarified. If it's not clarified in the ordinance, it will be clarified at the village board meeting.
Could we perhaps clarify that in a motion?
We could probably include it
Make a
part of,
motion to approve this effective
we could,
that date.
if in fact we're gonna make a
Yeah,
recommendation.
if we did
If we
that.
make.
You're right, very good, thank
And
you.
if somebody
Thank you,
found
Scott.
that was out of
Yep.
order, they could send it back to us.
That's true. Very good, I approve, that's good. Hate to put that pressure on the village board to make a decision. All right, is there anything else?
So I'm unclear as to the grandfathering in of that. How would that work?
I'm trying to remember the discussion about grandfathering, and I don't, it's not in here.
I thought the idea was to delay the ordinance, giving
Giving
people
everybody
with a
time.
bigger flock time
To cycle through.
attrition to get into compliance.
So no, it's, at this point, if it's not in the ordinance, everything's good until January 1, which is what we're gonna, if we decide to do that motion tonight. If we don't, it'll be next meeting. And that's the motion we will make, I suspect. And that'll allow anybody that's from now until January 1st, 2026 to modify the size of their flock to come into compliance. We've worked a long time in this ordinance, and we're not, and to turn around and try to modify it at this point. You know, we've had a lot of time for people to make their comments. And for
Right, and it was-
grandfathering, chickens don't live forever, so the grandfathering thing kind of makes me,
No, they live like 5 years,
Yeah.
7 years. It was on this ordinance write-up, and then it just disappeared off of the one that they're
it's
giving
probably
you
because we
tonight.
decided that we weren't gonna do it that way, more than likely. I mean, our consultants do a great job putting stuff together, so.
Yeah, I mean, this has been, again, through Plan Commission. I wasn't here at the last meeting for that discussion. It's been through staff review and the attorney review. So a lot of clarifications to clean up confusing language were also made since that February draft. But if the grandfathering was not carried over, then existing chicken keeping is not grandfathered in this draft.
Okay. And then you also had said something about a cutout for agricultural projects.
There is, I believe, when we have, it's for 4-H and studies through the school. There's an exception for that.
Institutional gets 20 birds.
Okay.
It's just the institution, so a school or a church could have 20 birds.
Yeah.
But my daughter's showing chickens.
Well, how many is she showing?
She likes to show chickens. You can have 15 at, Stoughton Fair, you can have 20 at Dane County Fair. To take and show, and she's.
I know, I understand that, but again, we're trying to get an ordinance for the entire village, not just for individuals.
I understand that.
So, I'm open to comments from anybody, but I think we've put enough time into this that that's the numbers, and we struggle with those numbers, my gosh. How many different means we talk about numbers? And that's where we are with it. I don't know where else to go with it.
Well, like I said, you guys, there's.
There is a
I've-
cutout for,
sometimes.
but again, for even, like, I think you asked about roosters. Did you not at one of the meetings? Something about roosters, because I think she might show a rooster. And we don't want roosters. I shouldn't say we don't want. Roosters are not necessarily allowed. However, for agricultural reasons, for school reasons, educational reasons, we would allow that. We, the Village of Oregon, would allow that.
Right.
Not the Plan Commission, Village of Oregon. So there are carve-outs. So I don't know where else you want. Keep on, I think we're beating around bush here. You're asking, I think what you do is you're asking for a larger number of flock.
Well, I'm gonna have to get rid of a lot. My daughter's gonna have to get rid of birds if we have to cut down to 10 birds total. I mean, we have 5 quail as it is that are, you know, this big. So that leaves 5 chickens.
Yeah.
It starts to get to be a division of what's agriculture and what is urbanized
Right.
land, and I would suggest that probably a lot of people that have good flocks that are oversized will probably find some place to rent or find through a 4-H or other program to be able to house them until you can get readjusted. So I think having a little bit of time here for this season of shows of fairs and things that will be coming up later in the spring and summer, will give some time there to work it out and go to a lot of those events with, and then beyond that, well, then we're back to the dating that we've proposed here.
Yeah. I don't see how we can go back and change everything we've been through at this time. And it's not because it's inconvenient for us. It's just that we've spent a lot of time on this. And this was something that the general public came to an agreement on in the public hearings, and with a lot of staff input, attorneys input, et cetera. So.
Yeah, and all of the public wanted to be grandfathered in, and it was in there in February, and now it's not in there.
Yeah,
so
it's not.
That's why I guess I didn't know where that disappeared at or why.
Yeah, and Lauren and I were just checking the minutes again from that last meeting on page 17 of the packets. It says that grandfathering was discussed, and then just sort of generally states that the decision was to make this effective January 1. So, I wasn't, again, here for the rest of that besides those few sentences that are summarized in the minutes, but it appears that it's intentional with this draft to not grandfather all existing flocks. But if there are questions about enforcement, Elise has done a good job of answering those questions in the past, and if this were to pass, I think she would be able to help navigate what that could or might look like.
Let me give you a suggestion. This is really off the wall, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong on this thing. At this point, we're going to complete the public hearing. I'm thinking that we're not going to make a recommendation to the village board this time because we are going to discuss turkeys. Okay? Having said that, Elise hasn't had her baby yet, so call Elise before this happens and see what her overall conversation was and whether or not there's any discussion about going back and grandfathering it as such. I'm hesitant about the grandfathering. I'll tell you why. Because there's no ordinance, from my understanding.
Right.
So what do you grandfather in? How many birds? Where do we end at? Where does that end? At that point, there's no ordinance for that group of people.
The way it's worded, existing poultry keeping may continue as legal non-conforming uses.
Okay.
And there's only like 24 of us in this.
I understand that. Well, there's but there's like 9,000 other people, so, or 10,000. So, we're trying to be helpful here and make this work. But I find it hard to necessarily change everything we've done.
I would observe that the document in front of us today is the document that Elise supports. Would you say that's fair?
I would say that's fair.
Okay.
So, I don't, certainly don't object to what you said, Greg.
Yeah.
That is going back and checking. But I do think it would be good if we operate under that premise, and that is,
Well, that's.
what's in front of us is what Elise thinks is
Right,
the best
so
for
either
the
we,
village.
I'm sorry, you're right, trying to interrupt, Phil, so Rutz, you're right, so either we finish it and we don't necessarily make the motion to
Right.
continue, or we do.
Well, I would only say that if our decision hedges upon Elise's opinion, that is there in front of us.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, yes.
if there are items that we may want to modify beyond that or change, certainly we can. But I'm hesitant to go back to Lisa because we're
Okay. And
second guessing her.
Makes
And we
no,
can do that, but,
you're right, we should do it here with
Yeah,
us, you're
yeah.
right. So,
so we don't
okay,
we can delay, but the only,
okay, we have a public hearing, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So let's,
See if you have any other public comments? before we
well,
go to
there's
discussion,
there's
or-
other, well, there's no, anybody else gonna talk about this subject? You folks are shaking, no, you don't wanna get involved in this? Okay.
I'm not sure, has she exhausted her list or?
Have you gone through your entire list? Because I want to talk some stuff with the village, with the plan commission before she gets sets down.
Yeah, that would be the last item that
Okay.
Before we talk about it, can I ask for clarification? When you mentioned grandfathering, are you talking about just grandfathering an existing flock? Or are you talking about grandfathering coop sizes and layouts? What are you referring to?
Just the setup that I have, with the number of birds that I have right now, obviously I wouldn't be able to get more birds.
Okay,
but
so
the
you're
ones
just
that I
talking
have-
flock size.
Right, I
is
want to
your
keep the
concern.
birds that I
Okay.
have, and I need to keep the coop that I have for the birds that I have. Which is under 150 square feet, so it's,
Good comment, though, good question.
yes, that is. a good
Let's continue with this. So we're gonna have discussions. Okay, any other public comments? All right, then we're gonna move on to our plan commission comments.
Thank you very much.
All right. I thought this would be done in a short time. That's all right. Okay. Phil, I like your idea. There's no, we can continue with this and we can delay the actual overall adoption and overall approval of this. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem, now the turkey thing, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed. I think that should have been brought up earlier.
I looked up Dane County's ordinance here. They don't consider turkeys to be domestic fowl. Their ordinances are related to domestic fowl, which includes chickens, ducks, and quail. Turkeys are considered livestock, so to me, that can be a separate ordinance. It's not
Good point.
permitted right now.
Okay.
I agree.
So would not fit underneath this new ordinance?
Doesn't have to.
Well, we could we do it or no?
Well, we could, but I think you've made the point already, Greg, and it's kind of late date to start introducing more.
Yeah,
birds.
That's
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, we're at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's, that's my thought.
as far as the grandfathering thing, thoughts on that? I don't necessarily have a real problem with it, but then again, now we have to,
I think there's two separate grandfathering though. There's the flock size,
Yeah.
there's the flock, and then there's the coop, right? I mean, I don't think any of us here want somebody to go tear something down to rebuild it
no,
No.
50 square
not at
feet
all.
smaller.
No.
Not at all. But I would have the grandfathering, again, now that expands, as you see. Now we're talking how many birds, we're talking
How do you register that and who keeps
Yeah,
track of that?
right.
And who got grandfathered at what date with what flock size and who's the chicken counter? It's messy.
It's messy, yeah, it's messy.
It's messy.
As we're sitting on TV trying to discuss this and figure it out. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that, but the reality is that we have to go then enter into a lot of discussion beyond where we are right now. And it's almost of the opinion that you start the whole process over with public input and everything else. And we've given everybody that chance to do that. So,
Doesn't seem fair to start adding and changing and without going back to a public hearing again and putting it all out.
it wouldn't be fair to the people that were here and now have not been. In other words, people have seen what, a public hearing, they've had the, public, or the general discussion amongst the residents, open house, whatever it was called that we had, and we've gone through all the time to put this together. You're right, I'm really hesitant to even change it at all. Are there options available once this ordinance is adopted, in whatever form it is? Do residents have other courses, other recourse?
To my knowledge, they could come and ask the village board to modify it the next month, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The Dane County allows for larger coops to be considered accessory structures. They're not chicken coops. So call it that.
Okay.
They need to register they need to get a permit to do this,
Yeah.
starting January 1st, right? So they're gonna draw the property with the coop and the size. If somebody comes in with a 175-foot coop, I think it's, I don't know.
But then what about size of flock? Can they come and ask for that too?
Then I would tell them to write down that they have 8 birds and
Yeah.
don't get called by your neighbor.
I didn't want, that's, I've been avoiding.
Yeah, right. But we do not have a chicken patrol.
No, we
Or
do
a
not.
quail patrol, for
No,
that
we
matter.
don't. No, we don't.
So, like many ordinances, things are complaint
Driven, they're complaint driven, correct.
So,
Speed limit's 25 and.
yes, that's a very good point.
All right.
So,
For me, when we first started out on this venture, I was aware there were chickens. I eat a lot of eggs myself. I have no problem with chickens. I love eggs. And I thought it was more about that. And I never envisioned this thing blooming to be as expansive as it is. But when we had kids coming in here and looking at the opportunity for kids that live in town to have a taste of a little bit of agriculture and, explore a career along Larry's lines and stuff, was something that we couldn't squash that. But I'm sure there's kids that would like to have a pig or a cow in town and, could somebody pull it off and keep it, non-nuisance to their neighbors? Maybe, but it's just not that likely. I certainly have hobbies and interests that I'd like to do in town, but I realize that those things aren't in the best interest of my neighbors, so I don't do those. So I think we've drafted an ordinance that goes a lot further than I ever envisioned, and it allows people to raise some birds and have some eggs and learn a lot about that process and,
Okay, so,
take it further, but maybe, if you need more than that, maybe you need to find a partnership with somebody on the edge, outside the edge of town, and where your kids can spend a little time on the farm and grow their operation bigger. But I think in the best interest of the other 99.9% of the people in town, this ordinance, protects them the best.
but Eric, you were saying again on that, Dane County says they're allowed to come in, you can make an application to go to a larger structure, is that right?
They say that their coop size is 120 square feet. Larger enclosures may be permitted, but will be considered residential accessory
Okay.
buildings.
And Phil, you were saying that there's always some recourse for a resident to come in and make some kind of an application or a request or whatever,
Yep, and I checked with the expert over here, Sonia, and she agrees.
which will come back to us maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Possibly. That's fine.
That's the way, that would be the path.
So as I tried to steer this thing all kinds of different directions, I think we went back to what you guys are saying. I'm seeing the guy, the eyes are going, we have an ordinance that we worked on hard, and that's what we're dealing with. Okay, any more other comments from the Plan Commission? We will close the public hearing then and move on into a discussion. and possible recommendation to village board. Continue discussion. Are you just simply prepared to make a recommendation?
I think so. I mean, we've dribbled the ball enough. It's time to shoot.
Okay.
And it may not be
Okay.
perfect. I appreciate your comments, but I don't see many people out there. You're the only one. Where we had a public forum and we had many people, and they've had a chance, I think, to review this. So I think we move forward, and if it creates a problem, you can bring it up and we can revisit it.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. Then, what I was trying to say before also, and why I asked Phil so many questions about this, is that we're looking at January 1, 2026. There's plenty of time between now and then to talk to staff, have some discussions, and find out if there's any other avenue that can be approached by individuals to ask for some different leeway in this ordinance. And I would advise you to follow that.
I would clarify that, and I think that's a good comment, Greg, but that's not a guarantee that they're going to
No.
agree with what you might ask.
no.
Okay. But thank you for that, Greg.
Yes, thanks. Okay. Make a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented.
And recommend the village board, yeah.
With the included start date of January 1.
That's correct, thank you.
2026. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Marr, it's his last meeting. Let him second it. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I know it didn't go the way you want, but don't give up. We're trying to understand. Don't give up. Thank you. Thank you so much for your input, though. Okay, we'll move on to item 7D, which review and possible recommendation to village board of a certified survey map to subdivide property at 550 North Burr Oak Avenue. Applicant is Joe Vogel. Vogel. If you come on up and tell us what you want to do, and I think we probably know.
Good evening.
Hi there.
My name is Joe Vole, and I'm in the process of purchasing 550 North Burr Oak. And I have someone who's interested in purchasing from me once I purchase it, the southern portion or lot 2 on the CSM. So I was hoping to see if that's a possibility. We're hoping to split off that parcel for a higher and better use. Currently, it's some garages and a fenced-in area. So a separate parcel to, I think he's looking to put up a warehouse for his business. So adding some tax base for the village. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Trying to get a feel for exactly where that is.
It's Forrester Electrical Engineering Building.
Okay, close enough. I got it now.
Yep. Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry, I should
All
have
right,
said
I
that
got
right
it now.
out of the,
Thank
right
you.
out of the gate.
All right. Okay.
Do you know what the lot sizes are? I didn't see them listed on.
1.7, I think it's 175 total. There's Outlot 1, which is a separate parcel. This CSM incorporates Outlot 1 into Lot 1, so they're all contiguous. So Outlot 1 slopes down toward the railroad tracks and has, there's not much there. I'm not sure why it was originally.
It's not a stormwater structure?
There's a stormwater easement going through underneath the,
See that?
yeah, so I'm not aware of any stormwater there. I know that's where a lot of it collects down in that, but I believe the easement kind of hits the 90 right on where Outlot 1 ends.
So that new lot's, what the size of that approximately in acreage?
I thought the outlot, Lot 2 was gonna be about 0.6 acres. I'd have to double check my notes, so.
Or a half acre?
Yeah, and has the requisite, I believe, on my conversations with Elise, requisite frontage, I included a shared driveway agreement so that everyone has access. And then in combining outlot 1 with lot 1, new lot 1, if you will, then there's no issue for access or anything like that to that outlot as well.
Lauren, you have any comment, your thought, have you looked at that at all and see what you think?
I have not had a chance to look at this one, but our village engineer, Rupert Milkie, did take a look at it.
That's
and-
right, they did,
Yep,
and they had no problem with it, correct?
just a couple of outstanding minor comments, it looks like about largely related to labeling, so no major issues.
Have you, Joe, have you seen that letter from Rupert Milkie?
I sent that to Beer and Cot Surveying, who did the CSM. They followed up with another version that I passed on to Elise. They said that there's some labeling that they typically don't do, just to, in my words, not theirs, muddy up the entire thing.
Okay.
But I have been in contact with them about correcting the issues based on that letter from Rupert Milkie.
We could do that, because there is a recommendation for approval based upon, subject to it. So we can proceed with that. We need a motion then in that form.
I'd make a motion to approve, subject to staff approvals.
Village engineer, got it. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the project.
Thanks.
Move on to item 7E, Echo. Review and possible recommendation, Village Board certified survey map to combine property at 1031 and 1037 Rye Hill Drive. Andrew and Matthew. Are those folks here? No. Do we have any comments from staff regarding that? Yes.
Just reading from Elisa's memo, this is a certified survey map that proposes to combine
Right.
two existing lots. This is in the SR4 zoning district, so residential zoning. The combination would result in a larger lot that is about an acre in size. So she did not have any concerns with compliance with the code, and her recommendation is for approval.
Got it. I don't see any problem with it. Need a motion?
Motion to approve, as noted.
Yeah, certified survey map combining the lots 1031, 1037 Bray Hill Drive. Okay, we motion, we have a second.
Second
We have a second, Mr. Marr again. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, any more new business? None. We'll move on to status of development projects.
So this is an exciting month for Public Works. A lot of stuff starting up now in about a week or two. They'll start to have construction on the building over at Well 3 on Hillcrest and Netherwood. So that one's been a long time coming, as you guys know. That one's finally starting. We are planning to start our North Oak Street project also in probably mid-April. So folks will start to see some prep work out there around the middle of this month. It'll largely look like dewatering at first, down by where the road crosses over the creek down near the youth center. And then we'll be going full steam ahead on everything south of Nygaard and north of Park Street. So that'll be exciting, somewhat disruptive, but we've been working with all the affected groups in there and coordinating with them. The wastewater treatment plant will kind of simultaneously start up on or around May 1st. So a lot of construction in that general area. One thing to note is that due to how high groundwater is out there and how deep the foundation of the new intake structure will be going, you might be seeing a lot of dewatering into Badfish Creek. That is all clean water coming out of that particular excavation. So obviously the DNR is involved, but it's nothing environmentally to be concerned about. That's just kind of what we're dealing with when we're going 40 feet under the ground surface. There will also be dewatering coming out of the Oak Street project. That's a bit of a different story because a lot of that water, unfortunately, we found was contaminated. So there will be treatment involved in that. I'm seeing some interest.
There's an old, it's before my time, there's an old dump.
No.
It was actually the old fire station had a buried gas tank underneath the youth center. So fortunately, our engineers picked it up, and it was kind of just luck that they did. We typically wouldn't go that low with groundwater sampling, but they did detect lead in the groundwater there, which is fantastic. But the good thing is that there is no active source of lead leaching into the groundwater now, so every bit of leaded groundwater we pull out is a net benefit to the area. And like I said, we did include in the contract a hefty fee for treating that groundwater appropriately before it's ever discharged. So that's something that the contractor's well aware of, we're well aware of, the DNR is aware of, and we'll all be watching that.
Okay, great, thank you. And the Viridian development's going like crazy.
Yes, they're building quite a bit up there, not on kind of the initial side, not a ton of movement on phase 3 yet, but we are prepping for that, and kind of a definitely moving forward on the private development side. As you guys know, you'll see Autumn Ridge phase 3B likely come in May. Highlands of Netherwood phase 5 is also moving full steam ahead, so they'll finish up phase 4 and go to phase 5 this year.
Okay, thank you. Next item has to do with upcoming meeting dates. April 3rd, we're here. May 1st. That would be fine. That's coming up now. Do you have something here about discussion change for the August meeting? I was going to miss that one. I guess I'm not. Let's see. Yeah, I would have. So, okay. Anybody have a problem with changing it from the 7th of August to the 14th of August? It's kind of,
No.
shouldn't be a big deal, huh? Okay, just make note that that's what we're gonna do. Planning staff meeting agenda is attached for you to review. Anything else? Need a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I could,
Sorry,
I just wanted to, I just wanted to recognize Dr. Mars.
That's right.
Last meeting, 41 years, he thinks.
Wow.
Something like that.
Gee, I'm not gonna beat that record.
And, yes, I think that's probably gonna be a record that stands for a long time. And
Yeah.
certainly, on behalf of the village board and the village, we certainly appreciate all the time, and, you're welcome to say a few words if you're interested, Dr. Meyer.
Well, thank you for recognizing me, but it's been a good 40 years of seeing the village progress and grow and mature, and it's looks like we're going to keep that up for a while, and we're certainly prepared for that with what goes on with planning these days and having professionals involved and helping us make our decisions and helping us do some of the right things. Mostly, I would say, probably mostly the right things. And the staff has really has expanded, but it's all been good, in my opinion. It's been filling needs that were there a long time ago, and it's needs that keep moving as we move more and more forward into the suburban area of Dane County. Well, I think we're well positioned to take care of what we have here and be able to continue to be a good place to live.
I'd also like to personally thank you, Larry. because you've been a real help for all the time I've been staying here. So you've been a real, I think I referred to you many years ago in an interview that I had for the Observer that you were the workhorse of the Plan Commission and for a lot of other things in the Village of Oregon. So you've been a real asset to this village. And I sincerely appreciate the effort you put in this village. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your comments.
You bet. Thank you very much. All right, I wish we had more people. We need a bigger round of motivation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, anything else? Then we will ask for a motion to adjourn. Larry,
I'll make that.
there we go, all right. We need a second for that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. We are adjourned.
It's been fun.
Make the last motion. That's cool. I like that. You make the last motion.